Well, hello there, cool and refreshing fluff popsicles. Today we are going to talk about 10 mistakes that new furries make. And some of these are actually made by people that have been in the fandom for a while also. Alright, I know we've been away for a little while. We just took an unusual 3-week break between making videos because we were up in Alaska looking at awesome, cool wildlife. Unfortunately, we didn't have room to bring a suit all the way up there on the airplane, so no fursuit content with the whales and dolphins and grizzly bears and moose and all that. Anyway, we are back for a couple weeks before heading out to Anthro Weekend, Utah, and we'll be sure to make a video of that one for you. Thanks as always to our super awesome patrons. You are amazing. And if you would like to be super awesome too, there are links in the description to our Patreon and also to some merch. We've got some awesome new brass pins coming in featuring my handsome face. Alright, let's go. Mistake number 1 that new furries make. Assuming that you have to have artwork, a fursuit, or even a character at all to get started. You don't need any of that to get active in the furry fandom. There should be no rush at all to build up a character, to have artwork made, and to eventually have a fursuit made. That's a big commitment. You don't want to commit to something like that before you've really thought it out and then regret it later when it's not exactly what you wanted. You can enjoy the fandom by just being you to start out with. Eventually, you can make characters, you can get artwork, and you can get that fursuit. But don't feel pressure to do it before you're ready. And this one flows right into number 2. Number 2 is designing a character or a fursona too quickly. You want to think about this. This is something that's going to be special to you. This is going to be how you represent yourself in the fandom. Take your time with it. Don't feel pressure to make one right away. If you do, you might end up making something you're not really proud of and changing your mind later and going back and making edits to it or throwing it away completely and starting from scratch. Give it some time, decide what you want in terms of species, colors, design, all that stuff, and then find an artist to help you design it if you're not good at furry artwork yourself.
I have to come up with a fursona immediately. I can't delay. I must have one right now. Okay. I'm a pink bunny with green things like here and over here. Yep, that's it. That's my fursona. Pink bunny with green things over here. Yeah, I put a lot of thought into that.
There are even some free templates you can find out there that you can just color in on a pre-existing background and make a cool furry character of any number of different species. Take your time and you'll end up being a lot happier with it. Now, the third mistake is jumping into the fandom without having enough information about all the aspects of the fandom and what it is in total. Now, there are kind of two extremes to this. One would be the person who just sees the cute anthropomorphic artwork, the cartoons, and is like, oh, that's so cute. I love it. I'm going to jump right in and become a furry. And then they're on Twitter and they see something that they can't unsee.
Yeah, this person I just followed retweeted something. What do they got to say? What is that? Oh, it's an anthro with a giant... Why does it have a... Oh... My poor innocent eyes. I can't unsee. That's it. I'm quitting the fandom right now. A week after I joined it.
And then inevitably they get upset about it, even though they should have found out about all the aspects of the fandom before jumping in with both feet. Now, on the other side of this would be somebody like this jackass who obviously was introduced to the fandom as only an adult thing for only his gender, his orientation, and his age group. And then he became absolutely irate when he discovered that there were women in the fandom. I'm not making this up. Honestly, I hope this was some kind of sick joke, but I think this is real. I think this person actually meant what they said on Twitter. Yikes. Do some research and understand what the fandom is. And if it's not for you, there's nothing forcing you to stay. Mistake number 4. Expecting free or discounted artwork or suits just because you're new to the fandom or you're young or you don't have any money. It doesn't work that way. Unless you're personal friends with an artist or a suit maker, please don't just randomly ask people to give you discounts or to give you free stuff. A lot of people do this. It's really rude and awkward for the suit maker or the artist. Take your time, design your character, and save up some money. A lot of them make their living or supplement their living doing this, and they can't be giving stuff out free just because you want it. Alright, number 5 is one that I was guilty of when I first joined the fandom. Going to cons or other events alone without knowing anyone and expecting you're going to have a good time. It doesn't work that way unless you're like one of these rare furries who is like ultra friendly, outgoing, extrovert, and can meet people easily. It's not going to be a good time. I went to a number of different conventions without knowing anyone, and I ended up being pretty unhappy for most of those conventions. Yeah, I eventually met some people, but the convention as a whole wasn't that enjoyable. My rule is to only go to events where I know at least a few people and I know they're going to hang out with me. Now, if you're a new furry, the way to fix this problem is to get on social media, put yourself out there, get on chat like Discord and Telegram, and start meeting people and find out what cons they're going to. You might even want to travel to a further convention or a further event where you know people rather than going to a semi-local one where you don't know anyone. I made that mistake with Denver 2018 and I was pretty bored that convention. And once again, this one is going to flow into the next one. The next one is lurking. Now, I know a lot of us have done it. I know there are a lot of people who have been in the fandom for a while who are still lurkers, but it really doesn't help you enjoy the fandom to its fullest. Get on Telegram, get on Discord, find some groups, join up, and just start communicating with people. If you have a computer that can handle it, get on VR chat. It's a great way to meet people and to interact with them in a semi-realistic environment where you can actually, if you get an avatar made, interact as your own character or fursona. It's pretty cool. And it's a little more personal than just typing back and forth on chat. I think you'll find the fandom has a lot more to offer when you really get into it and you really start talking to people and making friends. I mean, lurking is okay if you just like to look at the artwork or whatever, but you're not going to really enjoy the fandom to its fullest by being a lurker. Okay, the next one is telling friends and family that you're into the furry fandom too soon. You need to wait. You need to understand the fandom. You need to see what type of things you enjoy in the fandom. And you want to kind of start thinking about what their reactions are going to be. There's a lot of bad information about the furry fandom out there in the media. Well, some of it's actually true, but most of it's not. Unfortunately, it's human nature to want to believe the worst things we hear about something, and the furry fandom is no exception to that. Your friends and family may not be accepting of it. Make sure they're going to be cool with it before you break the news. I mean, it's not like you have to tell them. If you want a little bit more information on this, I have a video I made a couple years ago about should you tell your friends and family you're a furry. Number 8 is trusting people too much. This is another mistake I made early on in my fandom involvement. I put it out there on the Fur Affinity forums that I was looking for a fursuit, and somebody contacted me and said, "Hey, I make fursuits, why don't you send me a lot of money?" That should have been a huge red flag because you generally have to contact a fursuit maker and commission a fursuit for them. They don't generally just contact you and be like, "Hey, I want to make you a fursuit." But this person did, and I didn't know any better, and I lost a lot of money. I got scammed out of $2,700. Be suspicious. I know it sounds bad, but just don't trust people entirely. Do some research, check some references on them, make sure they're reputable before you give them money. This applies to any other segment of society. People are out there to scam you, unfortunately. And unfortunately, along those lines, there may be people out there looking to do inappropriate things with you, especially if you are a minor. They may be using the guise of a cute anthropomorphic character to help them get through and groom people. Especially if you're underage, please be wary. Be suspicious if people are saying or doing weird things or trying to get you to do things that you don't want to do or you're uncomfortable with. There are, sadly, creeps out there. I mean, they're everywhere in our society, and the furry fandom, again, is no exception to that. I don't think there are more in the fandom than there are anywhere else, maybe even less. But they're out there. Please, if you're a juvenile, if you're a minor, be careful and don't let people manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do. And if you see that happening, please report it. These dirtbags need to be ostracized from the fandom and potentially prosecuted. There is no excuse for that kind of behavior. Also, in terms of trust, be careful what you believe on social media. It seems like every other day somebody is getting called out or canceled or whatever you want to call it on furry Twitter. A lot of times stuff is taken out of context. These things are done because of a personal grudge between two people, and a lot of the information may not be true. or it's a clout chaser trying to trash a better known person to get notoriety for themselves. Be wary, look at the evidence, wait for the person who gets called out to be able to defend themselves, and weigh both sides of the issue before you jump on the hate train. Okay, the next one, which I believe is number 9, although I've lost count, is don't get into the furry fandom expecting to become popular very quickly. It's not gonna happen. It's very difficult, and it's a slow process to reach popularity, whatever that is, anywhere, including the furry fandom. To give you an example, I've been making YouTube content and have kind of been out there in everyone's face for over 4 years now. I only have 5,000 subscribers, less than 1,000 followers on Twitter, and pretty much nobody knows who I am. Thankfully, popularity was not really a goal of mine, and I'm glad I'm not more popular, because popular content creators tend to get bombarded with messages to the point where they can't even answer them, and bothered by a lot of people who think they're being friendly. And they're also much more likely to be attacked on social media should they make a misstatement or over something that they did 4 years ago. It may not be the best place to be. Being a little bit anonymous and lesser known is probably a better thing. Find your friends, find your groups, and try to be happy with those. You don't need a million people to know who you are to enjoy the fandom. Alright, the 10th and final mistake that new furries make is using the fandom and using people in the fandom and content creators in the fandom to treat their own mental disorders. If you need professional help, you need to seek out professional help. Find a therapist, call a hotline if you have to. But going on social media and talking about how you want to commit suicide and exposing your friends to that is really unfair. And it's even more unfair to go after specific people and try to have them help you when they're not trained to do that. I've been put in this situation a couple of times as a content creator, and let me tell you, it's horrible. It's completely awkward. I'm not trained. I'm not a professional at this sort of thing. I don't know how to counsel someone who's feeling suicidal. Please, if you need help, get help. Don't expect the furry fandom to be a replacement for that. It just doesn't work that way. You're not going to get the help you need. Alright, sorry to end on a little bit of a serious note there, but I think it was one that had to be said. What do you think? Are there other mistakes that new furries make, or that people who have been in the fandom for a while are still making? Let us know down in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more fun, fuzzy content, and then we'll be off to Anthro Weekend, Utah, and the week after that, we'll be back with a cool video of that con. Have a good week, stay safe and stay fuzzy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.